And through your negligence, this child has suffered severe neck injuries.
Leave me alone!
Stick with me, kid, and you can afford enough Nintendo software to sink a battleship.
I can sue my parents?
I sued mine.
Ow, my neck!
Corruptible youth. God bless them.
All right, you're watching episode 9 of The Variant Verdict. My name is Josh Onimus.
Shawn Kelley.
And before we get started with tonight's videos, a big special thank you to those who have liked, subscribed, and watched any of our content since we've begun this channel. It's been a lot of fun just watching films and talking about them. That's all we're here to do. It's just for the love of film. We don't do anything on a Patreon donation basis, or we don't even try to raise funds. It's just all pure for the love of these films. So please continue watching our content if you are watching this video right now. And if you aren't already subscribed, subscribe below, comment, and share our content with other people. But anyhow, what's our film for tonight? What did we review? It's a little odd choice, huh?
Yeah, this is, we're taking a step back in time a little bit. We're going to actually be doing 1992's Brain Donors. Now, you may be asking yourself, what the fuck is Brain Donors? It's a comedy based from the Marx Brothers films way back in the day, like pre-Three Stooges. And it, from Groucho, Harpo, Chico, that whole thing. And it's made by the Zucker Brothers, and it stars John Turturro as Roland T. Flaxpfizer, the main character, Mel Smith, who plays Rocco, the con artist, and then you have Bob Nelson, who plays Jacques, who is the prop or the slapstick comedy guy, if you will. Now, one reason why you're not going to know what this movie, you've never heard of this, is because when the Zucker Brothers actually left Paramount to another studio, which I can't remember, the Paramount decided to just kill this movie. They killed all advertising for it, and after that, they immediately pulled it from the theaters after the initial screenings. And yeah, they even changed the name. This movie was called Lame Ducks. And after everything that happened,
which ironically they even kept some, like the intro of this film begins with the claymation sequence introducing the characters, and they use a lot of duck imagery throughout, as if the film was almost still called that.
Yeah, it was, and they just knew, they're like, screw it, just leave the duck.
Definitely like a quick name change, you could tell.
Yeah, so they changed it to Brain Donors. And now one thing is that even though this movie got like nothing, I think like less than $1 million in the theaters, well, they pulled it immediately, their own fault. This got actually a small cult following on home video. I did. I saw this as a kid. Like, this was just a movie I pulled off of the shelf at a rental, checked it out. Even though the comedy is more like adults or anything like that, it's so fast. I loved it as a kid. So that's why this movie is a special place in my heart.
And that's the ironic thing, is that this movie, because I was coming at it from a completely fresh perspective. I'd never watched it before.
Didn't even hear about it.
Yeah, this was a movie that when we watched it, I said at the end when we were done that I was like, wow. It left enough of an impression where I thought, like, how could this one have passed by me and I never even heard of the movie?
No one has.
And I thought what was neat about it, because you said you loved it as a kid, and I presume you still enjoy it as an adult.
Yeah.
Is that the movie does have that kind of weird range of a comedy where my son, who's 7 years old, would find something funny, while my mom, who's 50 plus, would find something funny about this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I think it's got a very, and that's why I'm surprised I've never heard of it. It seems like it's a comedy for everybody.
Well,
it really
like
is. It's got a little bit of every type of humor in there.
Yeah, Jacques, the slapstick trench coat wearing guy with, whatever he has. You'd be very surprised how many people have actually ever even heard of this and never even given it a chance before. So
I thought you were cardiologists.
Oh, well, they're all connected. We enter the rectum and head north.
Why do you think we have such long instruments?
I've always thought that it needs its time. It needs to
get a little bit more recognition or it needs to be in the conversation of great comedies. It's presumably left out of 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
This is a film that's got, let's start off with things I liked about it. I like that John Turturro's in this.
Yes.
If for the uninitiated, he was Jesus in The Big Lebowski.
Yep.
Here he's in my opinion, he looks a lot like a Harold Ramis era Ghostbusters 1 and 2.
He does
and
have that
yeah,
look.
he's also got like the frizzy hair. But what I like about that look on him is that it literally, it's like a comedic look on top of comedic lines.
Oh, yes.
John Turturro in this movie, to me, was like... The second thing I want to praise is the script, but John Turturro chews on the script so hard because he has so much lines in this film.
Yes.
And I compared it, I think, to Sean when we were done watching it, that like how Deadpool is just such a fast, tight, fun script that's just never-ending quips, lines, dialogue that just is so kinetic that you watch it multiple times, you might notice something that you missed the first time around.
Yeah.
Because it's just being hit with so much fast, funny, witty dialogue.
She's coming too, Doctor. Now we got complications. She's going out, Doctor.
The crisis is over. This is ludicrous.
I don't think anyone will argue that point.
John Turturro chews it up. The script is great. This is a great script. I mean, this movie's just rampant with joke after joke.
Everybody quick. Like some of them, you're gonna be laughing. A joke happens, you missed it because you're laughing from the previous one. Like they come at you 100 miles per hour. But that's one thing about this movie is that it's awfully quick. Like this is not a long movie. This isn't like a 2 hour
and 19 minutes.
Hour and 19 minute movie. So
I noted that this film was very short, but didn't feel like it. Feels like an average length of any, average film, which is generally between the hour and a half to 2 hour mark. Doesn't even reach an hour and a half. Never once felt like it's the perfect pacing. It's just a very well paced comedy. It's a very tight film, but it's very fast. It's kinetic. The editing is very fast. And I was thinking that it gets to me, I find like it got a lot of its inspiration, as you mentioned, it definitely based off those Marx Brothers. And I hate to throw this out there, but the style of Marx Brothers, the style of the Three Stooges, but just screwball, it is the perfect screwball comedy, slapstick humor film. It embodies all of that perfectly.
No, and I always thought that it did. And I mean... everything about it, like there's only one thing that I will say about this movie is a little hard to show somebody brand new because it was like, just so you know, this movie is actually about a ballet company. Like there's ballet in this movie.
Ballet
I'm in my 30s and I will tell you,
of this film.
Watch a movie about ballet.
Yeah. It's very indebted to the sport of ballet, needless to say.
And I guess the other part that is kind of like, but I can look past it, is the romantic couple of the
Absolutely agreed. And do you think, though, that they're just bad because the other actors, the three leads, are acting circles around these guys? Well, they're so good together. They have this great chemistry, and they have the unholy privilege of having to be the two guys that are the odd man out, and these three are acting around them, and that must be a difficult job because they have such great chemistry.
Oh, such
that
great
it just makes the other people feel like they're being acted circles around.
You might be right,
but you're right. Those characters are very much the thing about the story that kind of goes over your head.
The most stereotypical, like hopelessly in love. Every time they're together, like it's like.
Oh, absolutely.
They're
just two very 80s actors, disposable, not a lot of range. They're meant to be this acted circles around. These three are so good that these two, by comparison especially, look awful.
Yes.
So I guess that's the one negative, and like you mentioned before, there's a lot of ballet. So if you're not fully prepared to watch at least a few dance numbers, but granted, this movie is so fast and, like I said, kinetic that there's generally comedy edited in and out these moments. These three are nonstop.
Yeah, although I mean,
I was surprised I never heard of them.
You have to admit though, like the end part with the ballet, there was a lot of actual good stuff to it.
And here we go. Mallory does a pirouette. Another pirouette. A skip. A leap. He spins. He scores. Listen to that crowd.
Yeah. How about the moments, and talking about favorite scenes where you mentioned the ballet, I loved that they kind of have this feel when they're all three together, especially on a stage presence. They literally feel like stage actors, like they're experienced, that they've worked with each other. They remind me of an improv troupe, something like you'd see in Second City, Chicago, the Groundlings. They have that vibe that they've worked together in an improvisational settings. They just bounce off each other so well. And if you've ever been around a group of actors like that, in fact, I did acting at Palm Beach State College in improv, and generally when you're doing that, and you're watching a great group around you, and you're not a part of it, but you're on the part of the same production, you can see the level of comfort in the way people act around each other. These guys are great.
No, you can tell.
They're just great. That's why I'm surprised that for a comedy troupe, these three feel like they could be an Abbott and Costello going to outer space in one movie, going to fight Frankenstein or the Wolfman in another. Like
I would have loved that if they had,
you know what I mean?
If
like,
they had more of them that just
they
carried
spent this
on.
time trying to stop a ballet, or try to
Run a ballet
it's
company.
basically like this kind of Ponzi scheme ran around a ballet setting.
Yeah, like...
But they could have put these guys anywhere, in outer fucking space in the next movie. It just would have felt like the same kind of consistency as something like Abbott and Costello or Three Stooges or the Marx Brothers. Like, where they're just in a new setting doing hijinks there.
Exactly.
You know
like,
what I mean?
This is a ballet. The next thing is about, a restaurant. Who knows? But... it could have been done, because actually that's the thing, nobody knows about this movie, and I actually really hoped that something like this will help it get out there, because anybody who I've ever showed this to, sure, they find, like I was saying before, the ballet, it's like everything, but everything else, the dialogue, the quick, the joke, fucking great movie. I love this movie.
Hi, Ed Breckerman, security. There's a Mercedes on fire in the doctor's parking lot.
Yes,
And it deserves its time.
I would say that there's a lot of funny stuff in there. If you've never seen this movie, it's totally worth your time. It's kind of difficult to watch. We found that out upon the idea of reviewing this film. You can catch it. It seems to be across all platforms of digital media, but at $9.99 directly across, which we did pay the price to watch.
Yeah.
We didn't have a choice. We just wanted to watch this film and do a review for it.
I had to show him.
And I wanted to say, can we just talk about our favorite scene of the movie, or at least a couple of our favorite scenes? I would say that when we mentioned the ballet at the end, I do love the fact that John Turturro's character literally does like this kind of thing where they're mimicking what it feels like to be on stage dancing, where they kind of get lifted in the air. They use wires.
Oh, yeah.
And at one point he gets lifted on an invisible wire, and he's look like he's doing kind of like a fairy jump. It turns into like a slam dunk.
Yeah.
And the other members will kind of wheel out a basketball hoop, and he just makes it in freeze frame just in time.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was great.
No, that was fantastic.
Very basketball-esque and airplane at moments. You know, where they just bend reality. Guy will twist his fingers, and his fingers literally twist
all the way. Yeah, it's
very goofy.
One of my favorite scenes, even though it's such a throwaway scene, though, it's where they get arrested and Jacques has to empty all of the items out of his pockets.
Oh my God,
he
that
has
was
a
good.
never-ending trench coat. Remember this. So he's pulling anything out that you can even see, even his own fucking foot. I would definitely, that's probably one of my favorite scenes. But there's so much happening and so many quick jokes that it's even harder to say what's your favorite scene. It's even more harder to say what your favorite joke is.
And
because
before we wrap up, I do want to mention that there's parts that literally feel like choreographed comedy, because in the vein of those old classic slapstick movies like the Marx Brothers and Three Stooges, you have moments where these characters are running from one door into another door. And when one character thinks that character is going through a door, he hits the wrong person with the pot that's behind that door to try to stop him. And it's literally, and sometimes it's so fast. I want to end with that scene where they're trying to stop that ballet dancer. I can't. What's the
Volare.
Yeah, the great Volare. They try to stop him from participating in a ballet at the third act of the film, and at one point, just dozens and dozens of fucking pizza guys go into his locker room, or his dressing room, excuse me. Then after the pizza guys, we have like a dancing lobster telegram.
Yeah, lobstergram.
And it's just
belly dancers.
And I think I turned to Sean and I was like, this is like literally what the definition of this movie is.
It's
like pandemonium, slapstick, irreverence, but fun. It's a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. So I would say at this point, I mean, before we go into any other spoilers, so would you give this a recommendation?
Oh, absolutely. It's if you've never watched it, take the time to check it out. If you watch it on YouTube, unfortunately, most of it's of poor quality, so you may have to take the dip with the purchase. It's totally worth it. You can rent it probably.
It deserves it, damn it!
But it's a fun movie, and I liked John Turturro before this from Big Lebowski, but now
Of course.
I really like him because I've
This
now
is
seen him in
one of
another
my-
really great comedy.
And this is one of my favorite Turturro roles. And I can't. It's hard every time somebody would ask me, they're like, "Oh, it's instantly Lebowski." I'll mention this, and they go, "What? What movie?" And then it all starts all over again, explaining it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So if you haven't seen Brain Donors, please check it out. This movie's pretty cool. I'm very glad Sean got a chance to show me. I forced him to watch Fantastic Four, which is probably much more grueling than this was.
Look at it.
So yes, yeah, he did me a favor by giving me something really, really palatable. I enjoyed this one.
Yeah. So thank you again, and like, share, subscribe, as like we said in the beginning of the video, and we'll go ahead and see you next time.
Yeah, and guys, if you want to see our videos or any of our other content, go over here to the website anytime. Everything that we do will be at www.thevariantnewssource.com as well.
Yes.
Like, comment, share below. Like Sean said, we'll see you next time.